Recording in progress.
Hello, and welcome to Searching in Confluence. My name is Joshua Procious. Today we're going to be going over content in context. That would be spaces and pages, the organizational structure inside of HL7's Confluence instance, recently viewed and recently worked on content, the search bar, and advanced searching. So first off, content in context. It's important to know that the content of Confluence is first divided by spaces, then by pages, and then by further subpages. We can navigate through these using the sidebar, the expanding collapse, and some of the drop-downs. I'll show you what that looks like here. So what we're looking at is a space. We can see the space title at the top left. On the left-hand side, we can see this, this bar here that drops out from the left, and we can collapse or expand it at the bottom left. And then you'll see a list of pages in this space. On the left-hand side of the pages, you'll see this little arrow. And if we click on that arrow, it'll drop down subpages underneath that page. And also globally, the Confluence homepage is available by clicking on the Confluence icon at the top left. So no matter where you're at in Confluence, you can click on this icon. It'll bring you back to the homepage. And we'll go over some of the categories here, but it's a very quick way to get back to the starting place. Next, I want to talk about organizational structure before we get into searching. And this is important because it helps you know how the HL7 specific content is mainly divided inside of Confluence. So the broad categories are administrative. This would be things like the home page, which we just looked at, the PSS process, and the ballot process. The next are work groups. We have product families, the accelerators, affiliates, and the initiatives. So if we go back to the home page, you can see here if we scroll down, we see these broad categories. So here on the left side, we see the work groups listed. Here in the center, we have the management groups. We see the accelerator programs. We see the affiliates listed, some of the initiatives here in the bottom center. And then at the top right, we have some common destinations here. The reason we went over this before getting into searching is because it's important to know how the content is divided so that when you're thinking about looking for content, you can start by selecting a broad category first, whether that's the work group, the management group, the product family space, etc. And then it'll be a lot easier to granularly trace down what you're trying to find. All right, so first off, let's talk about the recently viewed and recently worked on. There's a few different ways to get to this content. The space dropdown, the search dropdown, and the profile icon. So moving from left to right, if we go to the top left here, you'll see spaces. And if we click on that, you're going to see recent spaces. Now, when you first log in, if you haven't navigated around Confluence, this will be blank. But as you navigate around, this list will populate. And this is one that I use all the time to get back to a space that I've recently been to. So this is a very quick way to do that. Also, if you want to see the full space directory in Confluence, you can click Space Directory here, and it will show you the listing here. Go back to the home page. The next is going to be the recently visited inside of the search bar. So I'm just clicking on the search bar, and here the same is true. If I haven't navigated around, this will be a blank list. But as I navigate around, this will populate. And if you're trying to reference content that you know you've recently seen, this is another great way to get to that page. And the last way, on the top right, on your profile icon, if you go to recently viewed, you will also see a list that populates, and you'll be able to filter that list And if you go to your profile icon at the top right again, there is this recently worked on. And if you go here, this will also show drafts. So if you are working on a page and you've lost the context of it, you can't find it, you didn't publish it, you can go to your profile you recently worked on, and it will show here with this draft tag, and then provide you a link directly to that page. All right, next, the search bar. So the basic search bar has some filters that are available to it by default. The two that we're going to go over that I think are the most helpful are going to be the current space and the type of content. So as we saw, if we click in the search bar, it will expand out, and you will see these filters here listed on the left side of this area. The first one that I like to use is space. And if you click space, this will show you your current space. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And then under type, I'm going to select page. And now you can see the different types of content here. But by doing just these two filters, I have now cut down, and let me clear this real quick here. Starting from the top level, we're searching all of Confluence at this point. By doing these two filters, the current space and page, we are now down to 153 results. Instead of looking inside of all of Confluence for whatever string we would like to search for, now we are down just to our current space, and we know we are looking for a page. That is the most used filter set that I like to use. So next, we're going to talk about advanced searching. We have three examples that we're going to go over, and this will demonstrate how we can add filters and populate some results that'll be more useful for us than just broadly searching across Confluence. So the first example is going to be a page that has been modified within the last week in the FHIR space. So from the search bar, we click search. In the bottom left area, you'll see advanced search. We're going to go ahead and click that, and it will bring you to this page. Now, first off, I like to start with the space if I know it. So for this example, we know it's in the FHIR space. I'm going to go ahead and search FHIR, click that. We can see this is populating. And pay attention as I navigate through adding these filters to the total number of results that we're actually iterating over. And you'll see it'll drastically drop as we go. So we want a page that we know has been modified in the last week within this space. So under this last modified, we're going to select last week. And then under the content, we're going to select pages. And you can see here, we've dropped all the way down to 7 results just by using filters before we even added any search criteria in at the top. And that is really the power of the advanced search feature in Confluence. One thing I hear from a lot of users when searching is that even though they added the search string, there are still hundreds of results left. So by adding the filters first, we can really narrow that down. And then even if there are quite a few results here still, our searching is going to be a lot more effective. All right, the next example we're going to go over is a page that contains the string CDS workflow in the FHIR space. So to clear these, we can go ahead and just do all content, any date, and clear that out. So first, we'll go back into the FHIR space. We want the string CDS workflow on a page. So we're going to go ahead and select page. And then in the search, this will honor quoted strings. So we can go ahead and add our double quotes, and we'll do CDS workflow. And we can see in context preview here that there is one result where the string CDS workflow is on a page inside of the FHIR space. And the last example that we'll go over is a comment that I know I was mentioned in within the FHIR space. I'm using myself as an example here, but one common thing that I hear is people know they were working with another colleague and that colleague was mentioned. So as we're showing this, you can kind of think about that too. Like if someone you work with was mentioned on a page or a comment, this will still be valid for that. So I'm going to reset. I'm going to do all content, any date. I'll leave the FHIR space. So we know that it is a comment that I was mentioned in. So under of type on this left side, we'll do custom, and I'm going to type comment, select comment, and then at the bottom left here under add a filter, I'm going to select mentioning user, and I'm going to search for myself and clear out the CDS workflow string. And I can see that I have been mentioned within one comment inside of the FHIR space. And if I click the link, it will take me directly to that comment within the context. So if I scroll up here on the left, you'll see I'm in the FHIR space, implementation guide, processes, and you can see it actually scrolls the page down in context of where the comment is at. So to recap, we went over spaces and pages, how Confluence is firstly broken into spaces and then pages further subdividing that. We went over the recently viewed and recently worked on as a quick way to get to content that you know you've been a part of. We went over the basic searching, the advanced searching, and how to use filters. As a final point, if you have any questions, you can reach out to the community that is very active on chat.phir.org, or you can always email webmaster@hl7.org. Thanks for watching.